Hello, dear friends at the Dallas Institute. I'm stuck here like all of you, but for poets, this is an absolute blessing. We like to be hermits and sit and write poetry, so that's what I've been doing. I'm going to, the good folks at the Institute have asked me to do a poetry reading, so I'm going to read some poems from a collection that I'm in the process of putting together over the last few years, but I've tried to pick some poems that in some way, remote or immediate, do seem to have something to do with our current situation. It has its dark side, but it also has, I think, certain kinds of promise. First poem I want to read is entitled Stopover. As one who, stranded in a little town on some hill road in some forgotten land, and the next train out won't be coming down until next Friday, comes to understand that he must take a different view of things, look to his lodgings, try to call his wife, accept what groceries the store truck brings. So I wake now into another life. I must resist the anxious push to go, and let the pretty place, the vine-clad alley, the weathered jetty, daily ebb and flow, the cloud shadows that pass across the valley, persuade me that I can't avoid the cost, and that there is no harm in being lost. I want to do a few poems about travel, since we're stuck here immured. Thought it might be nice to get us across the globe. So I've always been a great traveler, and these are a few poems from that long hijara. The traveler packs his tent of words. With a tip of the hat to Anthony Bourdain. The traveler packs his tent of words. What is the point of doing it again after 3/4 of a century? All mock the cowardice of aged men, their fear of fear, their hesitance to be, their doubts, complaints, and petty selfishness, their loss of focus and their parsimony, their terror of the clock, their tight distress, chill when it rains and sweaty when it's sunny. What if I get confused and lose my way? What if I wake up by a railway track with no idea of the time of day? Maybe the young are right to cut the old no slack. And yet the dream's still there, the bright, wide land turning beneath in all its colored glow, the shaman's flight, philosopher's demand, explorer's trail, but then the vertigo of fall into an infinite expanse, irrevocable loss of agency, total commitment to the fatal dance, the dreadful instant of eternity. And then another but. There is a tent that can be pitched even upon the void. That fall is still a time, a gradient on which the pegs and a pole can be deployed. Anchored upon the air of his swift falling, the poet still can creep into his home and eat a sandwich, work upon his calling, and puzzle out the meter of the poem. Beauty is the only final consolation. Sunday in Buenos Aires. This mellow autumn light of Buenos Aires strikes through the plane trees with their peeling boles, beneath a sky as pale blue as an iris, upon a pharmacy with gilded scrolls. It's Borges' light, as fatal and objective as the great master's wry and gentle prose, his mind's eye still the mystical detective that seeks the criminal it loves and knows. This cafe on the corner with the awning is full of students softly arguing, coffee and poetry this shady morning. The 12 bells of Palermo start to ring. The spirit of this city's a duende. Oh, let there be no end to this sweet Sunday. This is a darker and more complex poem. The old distillery on St. Kitts. Sugar's the fuel of every human cell, the ribose backbone of the DNA, the oldest drug when morphed to alcohol. So slaves cut cane here in King George's day. Cane is a grass and flesh is made of it. Out of this paradise came living hell, but Bantu genes made it a benefit, acquiring a new continent to dwell. Just smoke and water, tortured by the sun in leaf blade factories of living green, are all it takes to make the sweetness run through capillaries they had never seen. Those Georgian crushers of the human soul could rack the part, but not hold back the whole. I'm going to read a little Japan journal. These are poems that I wrote while traveling in Japan. Jet lag. Dawn in Japan. The old man is still questing, turning his ears and eyes, now half machine, toward the world that gave him life, unresting, seeking for what they have not heard or seen. Beyond the bastions of Kikkoman Gate, in the imperial garden of the sun, he sat down yesterday to contemplate, and fell asleep before he had begun. That rainy evening in a foreign place. Another misted window restaurant, raining outside, just a hole in the wall. He's here with his severest confidant, and maybe this time is the last of all. Raining in Tokyo, pail of wet umbrellas, Asahi and tonkatsu, Nippon rock, cook and his sidekick, fusion flick Goodfellas, and like each other time, he's on the clock. The time in Skopje when he heard the song, The Little Windows of Constantinople. The time in Santiago when he hummed along, he feels it's getting pretty archetypal. But just how very long this ancient primate keeps plying through the world is what's so odd. An utter stranger in each land and climate, and yet a citizen, one eye of God. The Zenkoji Temple Crypt. This cedar cavern, carved and vast and airy, is where Japan goes to defeat despair. He pays the fee they charge you for Satori. Amused, he descends the steep and narrow stair. As the dark gathers, that amusement dims. The blackness, like a fainting fit, crowds round. He cannot see to see, and now his limbs no longer are his own, and there's no sound. He's told to find the key to paradise, but touches nothing but a cold, hard wall. You can't step into the same river twice, and to be there, you can't be there at all. He comes out right where he had first begun. The sunlight through the doors, miraculous. Maybe he touched that key, all said and done. Maybe that ought to be enough for us. The Snow Monkeys. This is a short one. He watches as the mother hugs her child and finds his own conclusion muddling. Is the true temple right here in the wild? And is the only worship cuddling? The Japanese Alps. In this warm haze, Those snow-capped mountains seem another world. He'll never climb them now. They'll be the margin of the mind, its dream, the flowering valley's source, an unkept vow. The Shogun's Peace. The old man's shaken by the torture chamber, so bright and airy at the prefecture, the well-laid limestone, pale and polished timber, man an impurity that needs a cure. The market, though, is an adulteration, a mating of desires in a sale, foods of all colours, sweet miscegenation, steam from the roasting on a fragrant fire. The shrine above the staircase to the forest is where all the downtrodden ones find rest, there being a redemption for the poorest, where strongest doesn't always mean the best. At the Folk Art Museum. These objects, paddle, teapot, bowl and dresser, the cotton coat in sober Nippon blue, catch at the heart-root of the old professor, being as much is not completely true. These are the daily things that shaped a mind, smooth with the skin oils of a mum or brother, imperfect, useful, customary, kind, like the old hands of a grandmother. Evening praise at the Shinto shrine. A screaming pipe begins the ceremony. A drone, a zither, and a drum join in. 3 ladies dressed in white, skin clear as honey, enter with tiny footsteps and begin. Their voices, like the swallows of the evening, fall and rise up to praise the dropping sun. The old man shakes, so lovely is this keening. It's simply that another day is done. The Bunraku Masters. These inflamed puppets cannot know the forms, the mighty forms in black that drive their passions. Their loves and griefs, the motion of their arms, are but effects, occasions, and conditions. But puppets all command their puppeteers. The master artists who put on this show, hooded, anonymous, are but the gears of strange machines that they themselves can't know. The art demands its servants, whose submission in turn relieves the torture of their drives. And freedom in this loving competition arises in these fictions, these fierce lives. The old man knows he is a puppet, but now he has made friends with his subjection. He is in bonds, but in his bonds he's not the prisoner, but master of his fiction. And this one is from Italy. This is in Recanati, which was where Leopardi was born and wrote. And this place that I describe is right where he lived. A sonnet for Leopardi. A sonnet is in quotation marks, and you'll see why. The cedar's shadows lengthen on the hill, the urgent wooing doves forever mourn, a fountain clatters, music never still, and I compose in cadences outworn. Cicadas, too, contest the water's song, shrilling within the laurel by the wall. Below, a Maserati howls along the corniche where the precipice must fall. And so I write, a live anachronism, 1 foot in this age, 1 in quite another, too old to care about the criticism, and old enough to celebrate a brother. How could I otherwise, in this hill town where Leopardi dreamed his hopeless dreams, as the warm evening gently settles down and resolves itself once more to seems? A prolonged sonnet, stretching out the time until the obvious and final rhyme. I want to read a few poems now. I've been worrying about maleness, about toxic maleness. And I wanted to... past poetry is full of, you think of Philip Sidney or John Donne, is full of these wonderful journeys around the female body, this glorious adventure. But I thought, particularly in these times when men are getting a fairly bad rap, mostly deserved, it would be interesting to write a poem about a journey around the body of a man. I'm not gay, but I hope the gay people would like this one. Body of a man. What is this thing, this noble masterwork? Consider him, his temple, cranium, the arch of brow, the tendons of the neck, the long jaw gently furred with its dark bloom, the curved lips made to sing or to command, the elbow nerveless now, the blue pulse wrist, the helplessness of that compelling hand that is a hammer when it makes a fist, the leverage of shoulder with its blade, behold the muscle drawn across its pit, the downy recess that the muscle made, behold what power must belong to it, the barrel of the chest with each chaste nipple laid on the thews that carelessly disown them, now swells and falls beneath the ribs' smooth ripple, such miracles if one were ever shown them. The pebbles of the hidden vertebrae, the rock-hard hocks, the buttock's double disc, the salmon flank along the femur's way, but then the central flower and the risk. See Jove's grand acorns, his rose marble tower, recumbent now upon the sleeping thigh, the source and limitation of his power, the reason he must fight and he must die. His ankles crossed, as if upon a nail, he lies there unaware of any gaze. For who today would celebrate the male or dare to give him any word of praise? Another, somewhat in the same vein. Farewell to arms. The cock will stand and crow, the bull will bellow. What is a man if he cannot desire? Poor fool that for a pair of breasts must follow, that for a secret nest must catch on fire. Take these away, and what a god he is! Simple and noble often, questing, curious, the knight who seeks out nature's mysteries, and on his homecoming is generous. But would he be these things without the spur of that imagined maiden in his dream, his hairy, muscled body built for her, his ship that breasts the billows of the stream? Boys, your time is over now. The brute must be disarmed, his song be mute. And an even darker poem, since we're in dark times, and this poem is about, it's imagining a future in which the demographic collapse, which is happening all over the world, has actually become terminal. That is, at some point, there are not enough children are being born, therefore not enough children in the next generation are being born, and so on and so on. People just not having babies. And this one is entitled Post-Human. The cities still are perfect. Avenues of landmark architecture in diurnal turnings create a show of the eternal. Holograms flicker, reds and greens and blues. Lovingly mothballed galleries and museums have no eye to perceive their gathered stuff. The libraries are surely quiet enough. The universities are mausoleums. The solar cells still work, but year by year the robot cleaners fail, and their repairers forget their programs, cannot fix the errors. Sometimes the parks are filled with timid deer. The planet cools, the forests are returning. They drop their leaves to make tomorrow's soil. Into the rustling springtime of their toil, they draw the smoke of humankind's long burning. Nowhere is heard that curious oboe hooting that once was human speech, so close and dear, when there were human selves and ears to hear. Of course, there's also no more sound of shooting. Dog packs, inexplicably bored and sad, slowly forget the gods they loved and nuzzled. They seem to search for something missing, puzzled, and quietly revert to going mad. The last astronomers had found the answer to Fermi's troubled question, where they are, where are those friends upon another star, where is the partner to the human dancer? The demographic singularity, unrecognized but by its explanation, had come about without recrimination, and that last menopause came silently. The last thawed egg, quickened with urgent care, guarded and served by ancient crazed retainers, has aged alone with robot entertainers and passed in splendid raptures of despair. The old war of the sexes now finds peace. The perfect treaty, separate and equal. No more oppression, no backsliding sequel, no need for the political police, no sexism, no dog whistles, no slurs, no in-law jokes, no sly microaggressions, no diaper changes, toxic dispossessions, family outings, no more his and hers. No crowded beaches, no self-sacrifice, no war, no art, no science, no poetizing, no memory, no cheery fraternizing, no tactful and considerate replies, no lust, no boredom with the other sex, no strife for power and individuation, no voice, no bold self-actualization, no clever denigration of your ex, no sweet good morrow with the rising sun, no pretty spread of legs upon the cover, no gazing in the strange eyes of your lover, no wonder at the new world that's begun. Another one in the same vein. Mad King Lear, Lear spelt in the old way, L-I-R. The Mad Bird King, yeah. I am Mad Lear, or so they called me when there were folk who knew my name, when there were folk once known as humans, when madness was once counted shame. From ruined city after city I go, but there's no reason why. The birds sing and the hawthorns pretty, and I've forgotten how to die. I'm going green, my hair is shaggy, like moss upon a fallen tree. I live on sun and air and water, there's no deliverance for me. The tribes have all avenged each other with rockets, guns, and spears and sticks. The band I led, the last true humans, all died in 2066. In all the stars there is no other being that can look up and know. When we knew this, we fell to murder, for no one there could tell us no. I live beneath the quiet snowfall, the blowing petals of the spring. All hate and love is gone forever. Sometimes I raise my head and sing. Vanitas. This is another dark poem. It's a personal one. Vanitas. When you have come to where whatever ending must be an anticlimax and a joke, when everything you've done is not worth the defending, the brightest harness just another yoke, when loves are fruitless and old friendships past the mending, then why not go for broke? When those you love can rightly not respect you, when those who love you would fain avoid, when those whose judgment you would value still reject you, and they are dead whose spirit you enjoyed, when every night your own dark afterthoughts dissect you, guilty or paranoid, then that's the time to sit in some quiet garden and watch the bright-eyed swallows zipping by, the ultraviolet sages offering their own free pardon, the yucca flowers sucked by a butterfly, resign, undo the harness, shuffle off the burden, and learn how best to die. There's a kind of hope at the end of that one, which I want to pursue a couple more poems. Indian Summer. A visit from a blue and golden ghost, the ghost of Texas August in November. Nothing but cold rain ever since September. Now it's the season that I love the most. The oaks are turning now, the butterflies batting their brown wings on the violet asters. I've turned the TV off on the disasters. The only news is ears and nose and eyes. The creek is roaring still. I hear a plane inch through the blue so high you cannot see it. This is a day you cannot know, but be it. That bee, dark honey gold, drones round again. This is an old man's poem with plodding rhymes, an Indian summer poem in troubled times. And the thing that makes things worth it is love, I suppose. Love and beauty. And love is, how can I put it? It's the prime derivative of beauty. Where we are, and this is for my wife, Mei Lin. Where is home if it is not with you, in whatever dark land where we wander? Where the alien hills we travel through faintly echo with a distant thunder, where the ghosts of some old friend we knew shows up on a half-deserted street, waves, but has another thing to do in this pleasant country of defeat. Where we are, though, always was the center, where your index points from, as does mine, and whatever strangerhood we enter, now deictic changes to a sign. We were never strangers, always here, even in this December of the year. I got very interested in the word deictic, or in Charles Sanders Peirce, I think he calls it indexical. That is, those words which only mean something when you know where they're coming from. Like here, if I'm somewhere else, then I'm still here, but I'm not here. And that quality of deicity or something like that, the being here-ness, and of course Heidegger talks about this. It's almost as if everything is a sort of person. Everything is here for it. And that this has the most interesting metaphysical and also physical implications, because the whole notion of the eigenfunction is the here-ness of a particular particle, and this is also implicit in the Fermi, in the whole theory of the particle, that you can't have two particles in the same place, same time, with the same charge, and so on. The Discoverers, for Mei Lin on our 53rd wedding anniversary. The Discoverers. We too are old explorers, venturing into these altitudes of time and loss, easy in camp, to kindle fire or bring cold water from the snow streams in the moss. This journey of discovery has been so long and hard we almost can't remember what finding out our destiny might mean. Can April's dream still wake us in December? But still sometimes we find a warmer dell, a dry cave looking south into the sun, blackberries flourishing along the fell, birds' eggs for breakfast, washing to be done. Soon we'll strike out once more, though, for the heights, lit nightly by those eerie northern lights. And just a few more. Shooting at 76. I'm 76 years old, but I've been, for the last few years, I've been developing a second martial art, which is archery. So I do archery out near my cabin in the country. Shooting at 76. I seek an arrow in this amber light, this liquid stillness clear as honey. I knew as soon as it had taken flight that I had overshot. It was uncanny how much more swiftly it had flown than all the others and just disappeared like, a few seconds back, the sun. These endings aren't as I feared. Selling the place, starting to say goodbyes, finding young folk to take the old tasks over, laughing that they could think me wise, sad that they should need to seek my favor. The west glows yet, night rises in the east. My arrow's lost then, but it flew at least. An evening walk. Why should this moment, coming down the hill, the last sun under cloud, suddenly glowing upon my little house, not quite fulfill all heavenly promises, all bestowing? Is it that the pure mind is lacking still, that the heart aches at all that is still owing? Il faut laisser, one must leave, and it's a quote from Ronsard, il faut laisser maison, jardin, what is it, maison, verger, jardin. You must leave your house, your orchard, and your gardens. Il faut laisser. All life is farewells, vanishings. What was the mansion of your soul becomes a shack, a cave, a hole. Learn to dispense with earthly things. They'll cut the trees you planted there, truck out the rubbish of your days. They'll burn the poems, phrase by phrase, and all your words are only air. But still the fall is lovely here. The aging house still keeps you warm. The morning after this great storm is brighter, fresher, and more clear. The more they tell you their farewell, the more they drift into the past, until there comes a time at last when there is nothing left to sell, and freedom, with its edge of fear, opens before the trembling soul, the parts all sublimated to the whole, all that was there transformed to here. And one last one, just in case COVID carries me away. When the time comes, he forbids mourning. The world's a miracle to me, most perfect tale and history, best spectacle that I could see, so sweet in sky and sea and tree, that even when death comes for me, and even if I cease to be and am extinguished utterly, I'll count me beneficiary, strange winner in the lottery, the petty loss no injury, a trifle in that victory, and in this bargain I am free, and leave to you the little key that will unlock the mystery. 6 guesses for what that little key is. Goodbye. I love you guys at the Dallas Institute.